Hello folks, tonight we're going to take a quick look at the unboxing of the newly released Steam Deck OLED model, and also in the process of doing so, and for the most part the majority of this video will be swapping in my 1TB SSD into the 512 model OLED that I just got in the mail today. It was recently released last week. I'm sure everybody knows about it, especially if you're watching this video, and we're ramming F5 refreshing that purchase screen. So I've already taken out the 1TB SSD from my original model Steam Deck, and I'm going to be removing the 512 in the OLED and replacing it with this. So that is pretty much going to be in the majority of this video. Nothing too detailed in terms of the unboxing, but I figured since I hadn't actually unboxed the new Steam Deck OLED, I figured maybe we could do it together real quick. Mostly because I want to make sure the thing works before I go and open it up and take it apart and do this whole process. So, and here we have it. I was really excited to get this. It looks like it's more than just a new screen upgrade, similar to the Nintendo Switch OLED. This has got a little more going for it. They've done some internal things, some external outside things, such as the upgraded nubs on your thumbsticks, and just a little tinkering here and there that just kind of seems to have perfected an already fantastic little handheld. One thing I've noticed, because a big issue with the Steam Deck early on when it was shipping was FedEx was shipping these out, and there was a problem with them getting stolen quite often from porches, or just not even coming to their address and showing as delivered, and there's nothing there. And I think that has to do with the fact that on the box, the labels would actually say, I actually noticed this today when I was taking out my, removing the drive from my old one. I had the box from the original, and it says at the bottom 64 gig Steam Deck from Valve, and I'm thinking, well, that just clued everybody in on what is in that box. Now this is shipping by UPS and it's not saying that. So let me see here. I'd like to keep everything the way it is. First thing I'm going to do is cut off this. This is what was on the old one as well. It just snaps off there. I think it's pretty nifty. Well, these are some neat little things they've done to the case. Have these little white accent. It's pretty cool. Little upgrades to the case as well, it seems. All right, let me see if I can get this off without ripping it, because I really like to hold on to this stuff if I can. I guess it's a little bit of a hoarder mentality, but at the same time, I just like taking care of my things. And you never know down the road, if heaven forbid I did decide to resell this, then you know, that would be something I would have everything for. There's really not much in this box. Just some. There's the power adapter, and there's also the Steam Deck itself. It's a pretty easy package. And one thing right off the bat is this is actually a raised logo, and it's quite rubbery feeling, and it's now orange, whereas the old one was just white, at least in the lower end model, the 64 gig. I'm not talking about the LEs or anything. For the most part, this looks pretty much the same. And yeah, let's oh, this is this a little, no, this is about the same too. It looks like it's covered. So I'm going to just open this up, and we're going to boot it up, and hopefully it has a battery enough charge that we can get some kind of life on it. Oh yeah, here we go. One thing I'm looking forward to is the smell, the aroma from the exhaust fan. Everybody will know what that's all about if you've already owned a Steam Deck prior. So this is the 512 OLED. It is the glossy screen model, hence you can see my ring light a little bit in there. It is not the etched glass. Personally, myself, I was not really a fan of the etched glass. I rather have a glossy screen that You know, if I really wanted that etched glass, I could just get a screen protector for the glossy that does the same thing, and at least have the option to remove in place if I want. And I don't need a terabyte model because I've already got my SSD here from my old Steam Deck. And my goal here is to hopefully just plug this in along with my SD card and just resume as was. It sounds like I can do that, and just do an update on the OS once I get in there, the main system update. And it sounds like we should be good, according to Valve. But if it comes down to it, I may just start all from scratch. I have no problem with that. It's a little bit of my OCD, I guess, kicking in. But yes, you can see here we have these newer thumbsticks that have a little bit of a texture to them, and definitely they feel a lot better. They've got a little bit of a raised lip here, and it just feels a little grippier when you put your thumbs on it. Everything else seems pretty similar. I'm noticing that the Steam button and the option, I don't really remember what they call that key. It's funny, it doesn't come with the old Steam Deck had a thing over top of the box here. Like when you first opened it, there was a little welcome kind of thing. You know, here's the power button, here's this button, push here to get started kind of thing. Kind of a poor man's get started. And I forget what they call this, but anyway, it's usually to bring up like a settings or an option menu. And you can look at your battery power and so forth, friends online. These buttons seem to be a little less, the buttons themselves seem a little more pronounced. They seem a little more raised maybe, but the labeling on them seems to be a little diminished more. So let's just pull this out. And one other thing about this system is the OLED model is it will be a little bit lighter. I think it's like maybe 0.4 grams or something like that, lighter than the original. And you definitely can feel it. This is definitely, as funny as it sounds, that little bit, there's definitely, yeah. It's got that little bit. From somebody who likes to sit in bed and play this, you can definitely feel a little bit of lightness to it. A little lighter than the original. The power button has gotten a little more of an accent now. It's an orange color, which is kind of cool because it matches their whole Half-Life Valve motif. The underneath of these thumbsticks are now black, as in the original were white. So that's a little change. Otherwise, you got your SD port here, SD card port. Got the back buttons. They feel, they almost feel a little, they feel maybe about the same. They feel about the same. Yeah, everything else feels pretty much the same, I'd say. And I never really had a problem with the D-pad. I think some people complain. I kind of like this D-pad. It's certainly better than the Xbox One D-pad. Headphone jack, volumes, everything's right where it's usually supposed to be. So, okay, one of the big differences I've heard about this OLED model is that it will it now has Torx screws in the back here, and I don't know if they did that to have people maybe less anxious to open this up. Maybe they're thinking not as many people have a Torx screwdriver handy. But yes, there are in total 8 Torx screws. Now it looks like it's the same idea as, yeah, they're all Torx, but it's the same idea as the original Steam Deck in terms of these 4 here are a slightly longer penetrating and these 4 are shorter. So when we go to take this apart, or if you go to take it apart, you're going to want to make sure you separate these screws, okay, from the outside 4 to the middle 4, and kind of just put them aside so you can tell the difference later on when you go to put this thing back together. So I have my iFixit kit over here, and this is just a basic kit here. It's nothing fancy, but it does have Torx screwdrivers and screw bits. So we're going to go through here and see if we can figure out which size bit we are going to use to take this apart. So take a look. So yeah, we're gonna try this TR6 screwdriver, and we're gonna go in here and take these screws out. I'm gonna do a couple, and then I'll come back and kind of speed up the process so that everybody doesn't have to see me unscrewing these things. But just take your time pulling them out. I'm going to do the outside 4 first. And there it comes. So it looks like the outside ones on this particular OLED model are a little shorter than the outside ones on the standard original model Steam Deck. So I'm just going to go around the perimeter here and take these out, and as I said, separate them, and I'll be back in a second. So with the screws removed, we're now going to actually separate the shell. And the best way to do this seems to be just like you did in the old Steam Deck, original model that is. And you're going to take one of these guitar pick type little things that comes with, say, the iFixit kit, or you could even use a guitar pick or a spudger of some type. And you're going to take over here on the right corner of the trigger, where the buttons are. You can kind of slip it right through here and just kind of slowly drag it down and wiggle it down. And as you can see, I've already started to do that here. It actually pulled apart a lot easier than it did on the original at the time when I was doing this. So from here, we're just going to continue down, and there's like little clips inside here, and you're just going to kind of want to separate them, just like this. And we're also going to go along the top here as well. Those are the clips coming undone. Now we should be able to just kind of pull this off if we're careful. There you go. All right. So just take your time. Actually, I'm going to put that up there for now. Take your time when you do this. No reason to rush. And so one thing I've noticed when I was taking apart the screws were all 4 sets, the 4 sets on the outside and the 4 in the inside, they seem to be the same size. So that seems to be something different Valve did for the OLED model. Now, safe to say, I still kept them separate just to be sure, because I want to put them back in the way I got them. So I have these 4 over here for the outside, and 4 over here, you can't see them in camera, for the inner side. So the changes inside here are definitely different than we had with the original Steam Deck. And if you've seen any of the so many review videos that have led up to its release of this OLED, the big thing people are talking about is this ribbon cable that's stretching across here. So let's see, we've got... Now this is the first time, obviously, I've taken this apart. And my goal is to get that terabyte in there. And I'm trying to avoid moving this ribbon cable the best I can. It's a very delicate piece of equipment. So what we're going to do is, this is the battery under here. I'm going to try to wiggle this battery out of here. But I think... I'm going to take this cover off first so I can get a better look at it. And it looks like these are also Torx. Looks like everything's a Torx. Over there, looks like there's one down here. I don't think that needs to come off. So the battery pulled right out of here. There's the battery cable right there. I'm sorry if it's not the best view, okay? You just want to be very careful here. This is a little different than the original Steam Deck. Just take your time and try not to budge this. What we want to do is underneath here is underneath right here is the SSD, and the placement is a little kind of annoying actually. People are saying it's easier on the Steam Deck to replace this, but I don't know if I agree with that. It too looks like a Torx. So I'm going to go in here and undo this. And try to push that, get that drive out from behind. Trying to find the best angle without having to really mangle. I don't want to mangle this ribbon cable. So I'm just trying to rock it a little bit loose. And there it is, there it is. It's got a little sticky under there, but I got it out. And what I want to do is I also want to get this shielding off here and put it on my 1 terabyte. So here's the 512. I'm trying to make out what brand that is. I don't know if that's a Micron, but it's a 512. It says a 2400. I'm going to put this aside here somewhere where it won't get lost. And I'm going to put on my, I'm going to try to fit the existing sleeve on, and yeah, it went on pretty well actually. There you go. It slid right on. A lot easier than before, that's for sure. So I'm going to plug this right back in here. I'm going to try to anyway. Something keeps sticking to this. I think I really don't want to jostle up too much stuff in here. So for the sake of the video, I don't want you to waste time watching me putz. I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so now that the SD card is back in, and I'm going to stress again, please take your time doing this. You really want to be careful with this ribbon cable. Just try to lift this up as possible. Before we do anything though, we're going to plug our battery back in. And they don't give you much room to work with this battery either. And it looks like it's in there pretty good. Yeah. Okay, so now once the battery is back in, we're going to lay this down. Now, I really disagree once again. I don't think this is easier so far than doing the original Steam Deck. There's certainly less screws, but I'd rather have a couple extra screws than having to deal with this whole piece down here. I'm going to stress again and stress again. Be very careful and take your time when you do this. Don't go crazy. Don't do it fast. Just take your time. You don't want to end up in the Steam Deck subreddit upset about what you've done to your brand new OLED Steam Deck. I'm kind of used to working with some of this stuff here and there. Some of these electronics. Playing around with them and opening them up. I'm no expert, but at the same time, I like doing this, and I think it's kind of fun when I know it's going to work. And the key thing is to be very delicate with all this equipment and just take your time. I'm going to stress it again. All right, so we have the two Torx screws back on this cover, and I think we're done in here. What I'm going to do is put the cover back on, and we're going to boot it up and see what happens. I have my 1 terabyte in there. Now, once again, that 1 terabyte was from my original Steam Deck. It is full of some games. It's full of some emulation. That, and combined with my 1 terabyte SD card, is what made up my original Steam Deck. So the back cover should just pop right on pretty easy and click in. But first, I think before we do that, we're going to just try turning it on and making sure that this comes on. We had a flash up there. But I didn't hear a sound. There it goes. Let's see what happens here. We have a pulsing light. I don't know what that means. After waiting a couple moments, we now have the Steam Deck logo, the Valve logo. And we're going to see if this is going to come on. May take a moment, but there it goes. That's my startup boot screen. Wow, this is cool. Okay, so that obviously this is using, once again, from my old Steam Deck, and that was my old launch. Now it says here, firmware update. Hello, you got one of the first Steam Deck OLED units, and we need to install some updates before you're ready to go. This will take 7 to 8 minutes. It requires a couple reboots, and your screen will turn off for a minute in the middle. Hang tight, and you'll be gaming in no time. So we're going to hit install updates. And I guess we'll leave that be for the time being. I'm going to snap this back in place now. That's a very satisfying sound. It reminds me of the old backs of the old Samsung phones. They used to have this, like, I think they trademarked it, or excuse me, the battery hatch. It just kind of clips on. But it looks like we're all good here. And yes, we do have that wonderful Steam Deck fragrance coming out of the vent that everybody's so thrilled with. So the only thing that's left to do is put the old screws back in. But I think what I'll do is I will let this sit and do its update before I do that. So I'll be back when this is done. So here we are, guys, back to my old Steam Deck on the new Steam Deck, and we've got some brilliant OLED going on here. Let me tell you, I'm going to turn this off. I don't know if we're going to be able to really make it out too well on camera, but it looks really nice. It's almost like just right where I left it. And I'll tell you right now, this UI feels, it could be a placebo effect, but I think it feels a lot snappier than the original Steam Decks did. So that's all there is to it. If you're going to upgrade your SSD on your Steam Deck OLED, once again, I would just recommend you take your time and maybe just do a little ahead of time research. If you have one of these iFixit kits, even the basic one, this is, once again, I used TR6 for the bit. And it's just a small Torx bit. And it took care of all the screws in the device, which is pretty cool. So, and these screws are all the same for the most part. The only thing left for me to do at this point is to put the old screws on the back and seal it all up, and I'm good to go. It looks like everything is updated. Everything is the way I left it. And also the other thing I'm going to do is put my SD card back in there, and we're good to go. So I hope everybody enjoyed this video. Had a couple slight nervous moments, and I was trying to cut out some of the time that I spent just kind of thinking around and didn't want to bore the audience, obviously. So if you see little spaces and maneuvers in the editing process, that was for your benefit. You didn't miss anything. I just didn't want everybody to get bored, and I didn't want this to be too overly long. This is just to show how to get a SSD upgrade into your OLED Steam Deck or swap from your old one. And just like Valve said, it took. So let me go in here real fast though before I forget. And let's go into settings. And why don't we go down to, did I pass it? No, here's storage. And I've got my 886 gigs remaining in the internal. And we are at OS version 3.5.5. And let's check for stable updates. And we are up to date. So the one thing I did skip was that time frame that it took when we were doing the update from that little message that came up. And it didn't take 7-8 minutes. It actually just took maybe 2 to 3 minutes, really. The Steam Deck shut off and came back on, and the little power light up here kind of did like this weird little blinking that I think I showed earlier in the video. So don't fret. This is great. It looks like everything is back to the way it should be. So very easy little upgrade. And at first I was thinking maybe I would just have to redo everything, but I'm just going to leave it. This is great. So any questions, you can leave them down in the comments below. I'll try my best to answer them. And this was just all based on, from what I could see, that's out there based on doing this. That's the only knowledge I had before I got this. I saw a couple videos about people saying this was possible. I saw one video that did a real quick, I think it was Retro Game Core, great channel. He went in and changed the SD very quickly in an edited way. I was just trying to go about the way he did it, and I think that worked out the best. And it seems like I pulled it off, which I am thrilled with. Certainly don't want to break my new OLED. Once again, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Take it easy.